Hello, this is U.S. Immigration Attorney Sharifa Tharpe. I'm here live to take your U.S. immigration related questions. Put your questions in the comments now so that I can answer your questions. So, I have a good topic for you today. I'm sure you're going to want to hear this. With everything that is going on right now, and I know a lot of people are waiting for immigration reform, my question to you is, have you explored all your options? One thing that usually concerns me, and one of the things that I look out for, is I look out for whether if the individual who is seeking legal advice from me, if they've had or evaluated all of their options, have they gotten all of their options evaluated? Because one problem that I am finding is that not attorneys aren't looking at all the options, and they're not looking at all the options because there are options out there that some attorneys don't focus on, don't specialize in, and because of that they tend to overlook it. So for example, if you go to an attorney, immigration attorney of course, and they focus say only on the immigration, the family-based immigration, then they tend to only ask you, are you married? Do you have a citizen or resident spouse or parent? And if you fit within that criteria, they'll happily help you. But if not, they don't go any further than that. And one of the things I hear is that they'll say, go find yourself a spouse, a US citizen spouse, and then you can come back. I don't do that in the consultations. What I do is I evaluate. Not only, of course, I look, because I'm looking at all the options, of course, I look at whether you have options with marriage, whether you have options with family, whether you have options through employment based immigration. But when that is not there, that option is not there, I don't just stop there. I then evaluate whether there are humanitarian based immigration forms of immigration relief that can allow you to still fix your situation. The reason being, you're here, you're out of status, and there's usually a story behind that, right? You don't just come here to the US and overstay for the fun of it. It means that there is something behind, there's an event or there's a motive on your end that drove you to have to stay beyond the time that you are permitted, or that forced you to even come into the country. If you came across the border, there is some circumstance that caused you to do that. And so this is where it's so important to ask additional questions as an attorney to get to know. I get to know my clients well, but I also get to know those who are doing scheduled consultations with me to understand exactly how you can qualify for other options that may be available. So, for example, one of those forms of relief that I want to talk to you about is the T status. Um, I have seen firsthand how the T status has changed my clients' outlook, their life, their ability to move forward here in the United States. And it usually starts with this: is that when they came to the United States, they were either lured here, or when they came here, they were given fraudulent or false or fraudulent promise of sponsorship, or some form of promise that they were going to be sponsored, or you were mistreated by a family member or an acquaintance or even a friend. Someone who said, come stay with me, I'll find you work, I'll help you out here. And then they end up using you to do their bidding, to do their work, to do housework, to work in their companies, and you're paid very little. You're not paid what you're agreed to, or even if you are paid what you are agreed to, you're overworked far beyond the hours that you're supposed to be working. And this often happens unfortunately, in group home settings, for example, where they just want to have someone who lives in a facility to take care of maybe disabled or elderly residents there. But that's work, yes. But then what they do is they take it a step further. They promise sponsorship, or they may not promise anything, but then the way that they go about the employment, it is then turns into a trafficking situation, because they restrict your freedom either by overworking you or locking you up in the facility, like you don't have keys, you don't have keys to go in and out of the facility. You're so inundated with patients that you cannot leave even if you wanted to. There's nobody there to relieve you. Those kinds of situations are not, it's against the law. They should not be doing it. And it ensures that you stay in that position of forced or involuntary servitude. That's what makes it a labor trafficking situation. So that's just one example. It's not an exclusive example, but it is an example regarding how the labor trafficking works and who can qualify for T status. So I have been able to get this relief for my clients, that they could escape this situation and move forward with their life. And in the case that they had found qualifying family members who were outside of the United States, those family members could then join them in the US to move forward with their lives here. So that's one of the things that you don't find the regular attorney asking. They're not going to ask, what's going on with your work? Why did you overstay? They're not going to ask these questions, or usually they don't. Rarely they don't. So this is where it's very important for you to make sure that you invest in the right immigration attorney, to make sure they're looking at all your possible options, that they're asking these detailed questions, because that's how I do find alternative forms of relief for my clients. Now, the T status is one, but also, have you been the victim of crime? Are you fearful of returning to your home country? If you're fearful to return to your home country, why is that? If you're being targeted there in your home country, that means that you could possibly qualify for asylum. And it's very important you do this on a timely manner, because while the T status has no deadline, this could have happened to you 20 years ago and you're still here in the US. It could have happened 5 minutes ago and you would still qualify for the T status. However, for asylum, you do have a 1 year deadline from the date you enter the US to apply for asylum. So if you're afraid to return, don't just settle with, I'll just stay here and take my risk. Figure out whether you qualify for asylum, because it could allow you to make a better transition from your visitor's visa, if you're here on your visitor's visa, into an asylum applicant, where you could then get your work permit, you could get your social security number, and have an easy transition from a visitor's visa, or whatever status you have, into having asylum and having at least the ability to work and stay here in the US in a way that can allow you to support yourself and be safe here in the US. So this is where it's important to just schedule your appointment, and schedule it as soon as possible. Now, I know that if you look at my calendar, it is booked out until March. So at this time, we're going to be working with one of our attorneys here to also assist with appointments, so that I can help individuals faster, because I don't want to wait until March to help you either. I want to make sure that everyone is being assisted and that we're able to evaluate your options, so that if you do qualify for relief or a benefit, the attorney that will be working with us, as well as I, can identify it quickly and get you on board to work with me as a client. So those are the steps I'm taking right now to make sure that we can help as many people as possible, because I can only do so many appointments, and we're getting so many calls that we want to make sure everybody gets helped in a timely manner. So when you call or you look to schedule, look out for that second option. So we'll be posting that second option soon, sometime this week, and I'll let you know so that you would be able to speak to an attorney that works closely with me, that evaluates cases the same way as me, to identify whether you qualify and get started right now. And you can choose between me, of course, and the other attorney. But the goal here is to move as quickly as possible to get things started for you. And no matter what, you would still be working closely with me within the law firm. But I want to make sure that we get all hands on board to make sure that we can process individuals quickly to get you to sign up as our client so we can help you. All right, so now I'm going to answer some questions. So put those questions in the comments now, and I will go ahead and answer your questions. I'm going to be going through very quickly. Hi there, Bonita. Is there financial help for persons to submit paperwork? So, usually in some cases we can apply for what's called a fee waiver. If you're applying and you do have a lot of difficulty paying and you have evidence of that, then we can submit that, and they can evaluate whether you'll get the fees waived. Now, keep in mind, one of the downsides of applying for the fee waiver, I mean, if it's absolutely necessary, then yes. But one of the downsides of the fee waiver is that it does cause a significant delay. I've noticed when I do have to do it for my clients that it does cause a significant delay in the processing of the applications. And so I really do leave it to the client to decide whether they want to, risk the delay. And even then, it may not be approved. So do they want to risk the delay, or do they want to move forward with the fee? So it all depends, but that's a form of assistance that's available. Okay, so my girlfriend did not leave after voluntary departure. Can I still help her get the green card? So this is because this is very complex, and this is where it's so important for you to schedule an appointment, because it's not as easy as just getting married and getting the green card. If you fail to leave after voluntary departure, at a minimum, it turns into a removal order. So once you have a recently issued removal order, it means that the USCIS no longer has jurisdiction of your case. You'd have to then go back to the court, have it opened, terminated, and you do have to show evidence why that, justification for why that needs to be the case. And then once it's terminated, you'd be able to go through the court system, the USCIS system. So you just, don't jump into this thinking that you can just get married and she'll get the green card. It's not going to be that simple anymore. If was married before and spouse passed in another country, if I'm adjusting, do I need the marriage certificate? So the most important thing is to show the death certificate. So you don't necessarily need the marriage certificate. It also depends though on what they're asking for, because if they're asking for the marriage certificate for one reason or the other, you're going to want to make sure you have it ready. So if you have access to your marriage certificate to show you were married, and then your spouse, the death certificate to show they're deceased, that would be an easy way to just not have any questions. So one of the things that I do in my cases that help me to be a lot more successful with my cases is I don't leave any room for, or I try where it is within my control. I don't leave room for the officers to ask these questions. So if I want to then show that you were married, but then your spouse was deceased by showing both the marriage certificate, the previous marriage certificate, and then the death certificate, that would answer the officer's question in one go, and you wouldn't have to worry about a request for evidence, right, to show any other proof of termination of marriage. You'd confirm that you were married but that it ended in death, and then the officer would be able to move forward with their evaluation and give you a good result, should you qualify for it. So I have advanced parole with marriage base and asylum pending in USCIS. Can I go to Canada? I can't give you particular legal advice. You definitely need to make sure you ask your attorney that question. Hi, is it better to file from your home country or while in the USA? It's faster to file adjustment of status in the United States. If you're talking about changing to any other status here in the US, you need legal advice. With adjustment of status, I definitely know right now it is much faster. But it also depends on your goals and, um, what your commitments are in your home country. Can you afford to be away from your country for a while you wait for the green card process to go through? I want to move to the USA. My mom wants to sponsor me, but I was told to do it in my country. So you may not be able to do it here because there's now a priority. So there's a wait list, a very long wait list. And so if you come here to the US and you try to do it here, you're going to get a big, fat, ugly surprise that you will not be able to do that while being here in the US. So that could be it here, but this is where it's very important to make sure you schedule an appointment, and where I'd be able to give you a detailed evaluation and give you your options there. I received a form I-797C, notice of receipt, but doesn't say what's next. So yes, it's not going to say what's next. Usually, it depends on what your process is, but usually they file a biometrics appointment, which is a fingerprinting appointment next. My DS-260 was approved, waiting for my interview. Could you please tell me how long it will be? So it depends on your country, but you could be waiting anywhere from 6 months to 2 years, depending on the embassy and their current wait times. So far, I've represented clients all over the world, and I am seeing an average of about a year and a half wait time across the embassies for that, but it could vary. What about people who were denied a green card before? Can they refile? This is where, though, it's so important. Don't refile. I mean, it's your choice, and I'm not your attorney. I can't give you legal advice, but it's possible to refile. But what is it advisable to refile? This is where you need to make sure you get legal advice and representation. If you're denied previously, you need an attorney. What to do when your case is outside processing time. So you can submit a query. So, for example, just recently, we just got the approval notice for my client's work permit this morning. And what happened is their work permit was going longer than the usual. So I was able to submit a case inquiry, and a week later, we've now gotten the approved work permit. So sometimes that's a way to nudge the process along to say, hey, the case is outside of processing times. Can you please review it? And that tends to nudge them along. So that's the first thing. It doesn't mean it will work every time, but this is a start to see if you can get the case pushed along. All right. If you miss a date that you need to check in with ICE, will you be detained if you go another time? So that's where you're in very unpredictable territory, and that you definitely need to see an attorney and make sure that you get proper legal advice. I don't know what the check-in is about or why you missed the appointment, but yeah, you're in uncharted territory, and there's that risk there. So I only have a minute, so I'm gonna answer some quick questions here, like at least maybe two or three, and then I have to head out. Can a U.S. citizen help a sibling get a green card for a work permit or a work permit? It's unlikely. They can petition for them, but it's not going to come through fast enough to get the work permit. Do you have to wait on USCIS to ask for a medical exam, or can you do it right now? I'd say do the depends on, of course, that you qualify. Make sure you qualify for adjustment of status. If you do, just do the medical exam at the forefront because they're trying to move the process along. They really appreciate the medical exam with everything else. Can a U.S. citizen? So I answered that. If the card got declined and the bank asked for authorization, do you? Okay, so that's a technical issue that I really can't answer. Is the filing fee waiver for adjustment of status? So that is possibly available. It's a possibility that's available for the fee waiver. Do I have to wait on USCIS to ask from? Okay, so I answered that. All right. So how does T status apply to a person who was misled with promises and has been pressured more after falling out of status to work in the house and business? So this is exactly the type of scenario that it's a big hint, big red flag here for trafficking. And it is labor trafficking by fraud. So they misled you. That's fraud. They intentionally misled you with promises and then put you in a position you didn't originally agree to. But now you're in a helpless situation where you're in somebody's house, you're under their control, which we call harboring. And so you have no choice but to do the kind of work that they tell you to do. And in addition to that, you're doing this work, working in the business, all the while hoping that you will get this so-called promise that they gave to you. So give us a call. Let's talk. I have a question. If you don't have the same driver's license as the same address as your wife, will it be a red flag? Yes, it's gonna be a red flag. So you have to make sure that you can explain that, or make sure you update your address. If you're, I know some people, you change addresses. States have regulations not to do that, but if you've changed addresses, make sure you update your driver's license. Can you help me file a T visa? Again, is there an interview for the T visa? I'm in a different state, so usually no interview for the T visa. And yes, absolutely, I can help you. But the first thing we need to do is evaluate whether you qualify. If I have a different state, so I answered that. All right, what's your number? My numbers are going across the screen on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. Call that number. The option for the other attorney, if you want a sooner appointment, is going to be up and running hopefully by tomorrow. So I'll make the official announcement so that you're able to get in on a closer date. So please look out and give us a call, schedule with me, or they will definitely help you to schedule the other attorney. If you want to get a head start on that, you can always call, let the staff know, and as soon as everything is up and running, they will put you on the schedule for our attorney who is working closely with me to make sure we can help as many people as possible to get the T status or any other type of relief or benefit that's available. All right. Have a great one, everyone. Thanks so much for your time. I will see you tomorrow at around lunchtime. Bye-bye. Thank you.